Picture this scenario. I guarantee it has happened to you in the last 30 days. It is 5:45 on a Friday evening. You just finished a 46-hour work week. You are sitting in your car in the parking lot for an extra 2 minutes because you are too mentally drained to actually drive yet. Your brain feels like a wet sponge. The idea of going home and cooking a meal sounds genuinely impossible. So, you open the delivery app, you order pasta or sushi or a burger combo that comes out to $52 after fees and tip. You get home, you pour something to drink just to take the edge off. You collapse onto the couch and put on something streaming that you have already half watched before just to turn your brain down to zero. And you tell yourself the thing everyone tells themselves in that moment. I earned this. I worked hard all week, but what if I told you that mathematically, after we actually do the accounting, you might not have earned $30 an hour today? What if I told you that after we count the commute, the work clothes, the lunch you bought because you had no time to pack one, and the delivery order you just placed because the job left you too exhausted to function, you might actually be working for something closer to $6 an hour. My name is Ethan, and I spend probably too much time doing the kind of math that nobody does on their own salary. If you have ever looked at your bank account at the end of the month and genuinely could not explain where the money went, even though you have a real job, a real income, and you are not doing anything obviously reckless, this video is going to answer that question. Because today we are not talking about budgeting apps or investment strategies. We are talking about a calculation almost nobody runs: your real hourly wage. And once you see this number, the way you look at prices, jobs, and time will permanently change. Here is the foundational lie that most of us accepted somewhere around age 22 without questioning it. We were told that our value as workers is defined by our annual salary or our stated hourly rate. If you make $68,000 a year, that works out to roughly $32 an hour, which sounds solid and respectable. But the problem is that in the business world, there is a clear distinction between revenue and profit, what you earn versus what you actually keep after expenses. A restaurant that brings in $800,000 but spends $790,000 is not successful. It is barely surviving. We understand this logic for businesses, yet when it comes to our own labor, the most important financial transaction of our lives, we only focus on income and completely ignore the cost of earning it. And those costs are not small. They are massive and mostly invisible. Let me walk you through the actual math. I am going to use a hypothetical person. Her name is Maya. Maya earns $68,000 a year, which is $32 an hour. That is her stated wage. That is the number on her offer letter. That is the number she tells people at dinner parties. Now let us find out what Maya actually makes. Step one is taxes: federal income tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare. Depending on where Maya lives, she loses somewhere between 22 and 30% before the money even touches her account. Let us be conservative and say 25%. Her $32 an hour becomes $24 immediately. We are already down 25%, and we have not even started. Step two is work-related transportation. Maya drives to the office. Her commute is 25 minutes each way, which is average for the United States. Gas, insurance attributed to work driving, routine maintenance, and oil changes, the extra wear on tires and brakes. When you actually track all of this, commuting costs the average American worker between $4,000 and $6,500 a year. Let us call Maya's commuting costs $5,000. That subtracts another $2.40 from her real hourly wage. She is now at $21.60. Step 3 is professional appearance costs. Work clothes are not personal clothes. They are a uniform you have to buy to participate in the economy. Dry cleaning, business casual wardrobe maintenance, haircuts that are at least partially motivated by professional standards, grooming products. This runs the average office worker somewhere between $1,200 and $2,500 a year. Maya spends $1,800. She is now at $20.74 per hour. Step 4 is what I call convenience spending. This is the category that does the most damage and gets the least attention. When you work full time, you buy time constantly because you have none left. You pay for the $14 lunch at the deli near the office because you had no time to pack food. You pay for the grocery delivery because by Wednesday evening, you cannot physically walk a store. You pay for the house cleaning service every other week because weekends are the only recovery time you have. You hire out the yard work or the car maintenance or the errands that a person with more time would simply do themselves. These are not lifestyle upgrades. These are costs that exist entirely because the job consumes your time and energy. For Maya, this category adds up to roughly $4,800 a year. She is now at $18.43 per hour. And then we get to the category that nobody talks about, the darkest column in the spreadsheet. Step 5 is decompression spending. This is the money spent to recover from the job. The after-work drinks, the weekend trips taken to reset from a draining week, the online shopping at 11 p.m. that happens on the worst Tuesdays, the streaming subscriptions, the therapy, the expensive gym membership taken out in January after a particularly brutal quarter, the $52 delivery order on Friday night that started this entire conversation. These purchases are not irrational. They are completely logical responses to chronic depletion, but they are still job-related costs because without the job stress producing the depletion, most of them would not exist or would be significantly smaller. For Maya, this is another $5,200 a year. Let us add it all up. $5,000 in commuting, $1,800 in professional appearance, $4,800 in convenience spending, $5,200 in decompression. That is $16,800 in expenses that exist solely because Maya has this job. Her gross salary was $68,000. Subtract the tax hit first. She takes home roughly $51,000. Then subtract the $16,800 in job-related costs. Maya's real annual income is approximately $34,200, not $68,000, not $32 an hour, $34,200. We just cut her salary in half without changing a single thing about her life. But we are only halfway through the calculation because wage is not just money. Wage is money divided by time. And this is where the number gets genuinely disturbing. Maya's offer letter says 40 hours per week. Let us count the actual hours she dedicates to work. Getting ready in the morning, showered, dressed professionally, looking put together, adds 45 minutes to her morning that would not exist on a non-work day. Commuting 25 minutes each way is 50 minutes of her day that belongs entirely to the job. She takes a 30-minute lunch, but typically eats at her desk or near the office because leaving feels impractical. After work, she has a 25-minute commute back. And then there is the decompression period, the hour or so after she gets home where she is physically present but mentally still at work, unable to actually be productive or rested, just gradually unwinding. Add this up, honestly. Maya is not giving 40 hours a week to her job. She is giving approximately 53 hours. That is the real cost in time. 53 hours per week, 50 working weeks per year. Maya is spending 2,650 hours per year in service of her job. Now take her real income, $34,200, and divide it by 2,650 hours. Maya's real hourly wage is $12.91. She thought she was earning $32 an hour. She is earning $12.91. She is selling her hours at roughly 40 cents on the dollar. This is the work scam, not a conspiracy, not a villain in a boardroom plotting against you. Just a system designed in a way that makes the cost of working almost entirely invisible so that the transaction always feels better than it actually is. You see the $68,000. You do not see the $16,800 walking back out the door. You see the 40-hour work week. You do not see the 13 additional hours you give away for free every week. But here is why this calculation matters beyond making you feel worse about a Monday morning. Once you know your real hourly wage, a price tag becomes a very different thing. A $130 dinner out is no longer $130. It is 10 hours of Maya's actual working life, 10 hours of commuting and stress and sitting through meetings and answering emails. She has to decide, is this dinner worth 10 hours of my actual existence? Some things will pass that test easily. Many things will not. A $6 a daily coffee habit is not $6. It is $1,560 a year, which at Maya's real wage is 120 hours of her life per year. More than 3 full work weeks spent on coffee. That may still feel worth it to her, but now she knows what she is actually trading. The real hourly wage calculation also exposes something called the promotion trap. Most people assume that a pay raise is unconditionally good, but a promotion often comes with longer hours, more responsibility, more stress, and more spending. Nicer clothes, better car, moving to a more expensive neighborhood because your new title suggests you should. The raise increases the numerator, but the additional hours and costs increase the denominator and the expense column simultaneously. Many people who get promoted end up with a lower real hourly wage than they had before, while feeling more financially successful because the number on their offer letter went up. The salary went up. The freedom went down. There is one more dimension to this that I want to show you because it might be the most important one. Every dollar of unnecessary work-related spending is not just a dollar spent today. It is a dollar that is not compounding in your favor tomorrow. $1,560 per year in daily coffee invested consistently into a low-cost index fund at a historical average return of 8% annually grows to approximately $193,000 over 30 years. You are not spending $6 on coffee. You are making a $193,000 decision. Now multiply that logic across every convenience purchase, every decompression expense, every upgrade you made because the job seemed to demand it. The numbers become genuinely staggering. The system works the way it does because it keeps you too tired to run this calculation. The cycle is elegant in how it sustains itself. You work to earn money. The stress of working depletes you. The depletion causes spending. The spending reduces your savings. The reduced savings forces you to keep working. The working depletes you again. Nobody designed this trap for you personally, but it exists. And the only way out is awareness. So what do you actually do with this? You are not going to quit your job. That is not the point. The point is to start treating your own income like a business treats its revenue, with full awareness of cost and margin, not just the top line number. Step 1, run the calculation for yourself. Get a piece of paper and honestly account for your commuting costs, your appearance costs, your convenience spending, and your decompression spending. Add them up. Subtract them from your take-home pay. Then count your actual hours. Divide. Find your real number. Step 2, every work-related cost you eliminate is a direct increase in your real hourly wage. You do not need a raise to earn more. You need a smaller gap between what comes in and what goes back out. Step 3, start pricing things in time, not dollars. Before any non-essential purchase, ask yourself how many hours of your real working life this costs, not your stated salary. Your real one. That filter alone will eliminate a significant portion of spending that currently happens without conscious thought. And step 4, widen the gap. The space between what you earn and what you spend is not just savings, it is future time. Every dollar saved at your real hourly wage buys back some fraction of an hour that you would otherwise have to sell. Stack enough of those fractions, and at some point, you are no longer selling every available hour just to maintain the current position. The wealthy do not just earn more, they keep a higher percentage of what they earn, and they deploy what they keep in ways that generate returns without requiring more of their time. The gap is where the leverage is. The gap is where the freedom accumulates. You can start widening it today, not with a raise, not with a side hustle, just by doing the math you should have been doing the whole time. Because once you know what your time actually costs, you stop giving it away cheaply, and that changes everything.